Hi, I'm Turk Strongman at the Ryan Q Ramacharaka. Thank you for selecting this video on Vril power. Before I get going, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then please do that now. I think it's in your own best interest. Activate the notification bell feature while you're at it. Share the joy of the channel with others. And with respect to this video, if you found it, you liked it, by the time it's over, then please give it a thumb up. You might consider giving it a thumb up anyway. Those humbling requests now having been humbly set forth. Let's go! My immediately prior upload. What should you say there? The thumbnail. Desire, will, Vril. Right, okay. And it's called the triad, something about the triad, how to approach the will, Vril, desire triad. All right, yeah. In that, I mentioned to consider that, good does, my lead-in was good doesn't always win over evil. That thing which wins over something else in the mental plane, the astral plane, whatever, okay, like that. It's not good triumphs over evil all the time. No. Or just do the right thing and the best will come about. Yeah. It doesn't always work like that. Right? It doesn't. Okay. We know that. What wins is the more in an electromagnetic sense of polarity here, positive pole, negative pole. For instance, cathode versus anode. Positive versus the negative. With respect to one another, one being more positive over the other pole, that's the one that wins. It might not be the thing that's working for the best for everybody, or whatever, however you're going to define, set your ethical standard here over what's the best, what's the good, what's the right thing, no. Whether something's good or bad, good or evil, no, it's the more positively charged of the two. So, yeah, if you want to win a battle of wills with somebody, as you may know, especially if you've had a battle of wills with somebody of the opposing gender, you may recall that just because you might have been right and the other person wrong, or you might have had the apparently better intentions of the two of yours, you didn't necessarily win because of those things. Now, if you won, it might have been because of something else. Yeah, just being right, or being out to, for the best interests of both parties involved, something like that, that does not, that's no guarantee of a win, a triumph over the other. No, that's not the measuring stick. The measuring stick is polarity. All right, I made this pretty clear in that video. So here's what else. Here's my addition now. When I went further and said, this is an electromagnetic thing we're actually talking about here. It's that kind of polarity, that kind of relationship. When it comes to positive versus, the positive, something being more positively charged on the end of the positive pole as opposed to the negative pole in an electromagnetic sense. Here's what's more. It turns out that it's most likely been the case and always been the case that what we call universal prana, universal will, is the universal picture of electromagnetism. Electricity, let's just go there. Electricity. We definitely get vitality here, at least physically, here on this planet from the sun. And the sun has been acknowledged now for some while to not be a nuclear event happening in real time, just ongoingly here, continuously. No, it's an electrical one. It's an electrical one. And where there's electrical, there's magnetic. It's an electromagnetic thing. When we get into the positive pole and the negative pole, we're jumping right over into magnetism talk already, at the same time as we are electrical talk. Okay? Two phases, same thing. So, yeah, I want you to know this, that Vril, or prana, life force, vital force, the vital fluid, the whatever you want to call it, from whatever point in history, whatever linguistic derivation, when you're talking about that, you are talking about, most likely, what electricity, the very heart of electricity, that, you know, what electricity actually is, substance-wise, substantially, tangibly, corporeally, however it is, where it can actually be identified. Well, if this is an identity, an identification, because we already have an idea, you know, like we have our notions about prana, we have our notions about Vril, we have our notions about vital energy, vital force. All right, the life force. Okay, well, we're saying those notions correspond with this thing we think we don't really have identified. And we call it electricity, current, you know, electricity, right? The electromagnetic force. Well, whatever we want to name it. It's this thing that we know these other names for. And we know a bit more about that, you know. What we see with electricity is its effects, its results, largely involving heat and light. Yeah, well, you know, surely the sun, a rather sizable and impactful, influential being. I mean, everything is alive, right? All the universe is alive. And here we have this thing. Look, our bodies are electromagnetic batteries. They store the stuff. And what are they really storing? Vital energy, vital force, soul energy, whatever you want to call that. In turn, it is correct, and it is corresponding, it is correlative to say that our bodies are storage batteries for electromagnetic energy, for electricity. Okay, it's Vril. Look, I mean, you look into it. There's not a great definition for electricity, according to, you know, engineers, scientists, physicists, and so forth. What electricity actually is to an electrical engineer. Well, you can talk about the direction of electron flow in a wire or across a space, you know, and like let's say in the case of electromagnetic induction from one place to another, like nearby, you know, like if you put a winding around a magnet and you run current through, you can induce similar energy over here in the next object that doesn't have the current running through it. There are things like this, okay? Where was I going with that? Oh, shit, where was I going? Excuse me. Oh, man, I kind of lost my place. All right, I'll just pick up wherever I can think of here. We're talking about that. I wanted you to know that. So when we're talking about will, desire, Vril, all working together, and I mentioned, you know, electromagnetic events, you know, reality boiling down to, from one point of view of consideration, reality, you know, all phenomena in any plane boiling down to, you know, three basic components, you know, the three different states or conditions. There's a logical thing going on. Things are in on or off states, and negotiable, kind of like middle of the ground, fuzzy state, but on and off, right? It's a logical thing. Like a digit 0 or a digit 1. Off, on. 0, 1. Also, things are mathematical. You can explain all phenomena numerically, as quantities, and what they do with each other, their relationships with one another, their interactions with one another, quantities. And also, the third angle on this level of discourse here is electromagnetic. All phenomena are logical affairs, mathematical affairs, and electromagnetic affairs. Electromagnetic fluctuations. Different states interacting with one another. Electromagnetic. Electric. And, okay. So you be aware that when you are engaging in activity, practice, application of that triad, will, vril, and desire, working together, what you are working with in the last analysis is electricity. Now, if we're going to set up obstacles or circumvent, get around, break through, if we have a shot at busting or being more positive in charge, right? Not in like our idea of what's the right thing or what's best for everybody. No. This charge thing, okay? And the magnitude of that charge, like its power. Think in terms of all these electrical terms and what they mean. Then let's say emanations from, any kind of antennae that kind of like affect our brainwave patterns, our thoughts, so forth, or thought forms, what have you. Any of these things, like maybe that are grounded or come from, let's say, powerful generators. Anything, like very large energy sources. Electromagnetic. Well, then, we need to gain positive polarity over that. It means we have to know what we're dealing with. Because the more we draw together, marshal together the forces that we know we're working with, intentionally put in the visuals to go with it, the mental visuals, all the tools, the desire, this, that, and be aware that we're not just kind of like some off notion or some assisting idea for us to help in our practice, the idea that, I can think of it as electrical. That might help. No, it is that. And you are a center of being able to control it in the mental plane, the astral plane, etc. Now, there are some things that we'll be doing here that should give pretty clear evidence that when the mental plane activity along these kinds of lines is focused enough, a manifested result doesn't take long. Many times, depends on the substance of it and the availability of the resources for it. But, manifestations do follow the mental plane. They do. Now, how does one person create the results of in a multinational corporation with everybody working toward the same goals? From mentally on down to their, their daily reports and products and services provided or created, produced, manufactured, distributed, whatever. Well, yeah, it takes some effort, it takes some work, it takes some knowing what the heck you're doing. And when you know what kind of material you're actually working with, and you take your knowledge about it, and then your knowledge about the things that you've already known about that you didn't really see as connected with it for a while, till just now, maybe. And you put it together, you've got a little toolbox there. And that's what we're building up here, all right? That's what we're building up. We're not using some mind stuff to talk about maybe a phenomenon that's electrical, or the other way around, and whatever that would, how you would say that. No, we're talking about a whole thing here that's the parts are all connected and they work together. And in many cases, what we used to call one thing and then another thing with a different name, they're actually the same. We've got several of those things here going on now for us, right? That really helps things a lot. It gives us focus. All right, enough of that one. Thanks for selecting this video on, what was it? Vril, will, desire, and electricity, man. Get electrical. Get polarized. When I say positive trumps negative, I'm talking about these two states being relative to one, in relation to one another. One's positive because it's more positive than the other. When, vice versa. This one's negative to that one because it's more negative in charge. Like electrical polarity. Just consider what the results of polarity are when it's the electricity. And think about, your frequency, your it doesn't matter what you call it, electron flow, whatever. Like I was saying, the scientific community doesn't really have it pinned down much better than that. It's a matter of, sometimes there's argument. I learned this in the Navy, right? We would say that electricity is this thing. Not sure exactly how to define that thing, but here's what happens. Here's what happens. When we have a conductor, a path along which current can flow. When we're talking about current now, okay, now we can talk about something, all right? When we talk about what electricity does, all right, one of the things it does is it's like it moves. We just don't know what it is because we can't really see that. But here we can tell that there must be electrons, all right, like the ones in the wire, right? That's why it's called a conductor. It's metallic. It has this property. It can actually respond to a charge here on this end that's more positive than this one, and so electrons run from the one pole to the other. I guess until it's balanced out, if it ever gets there. But if this is an open circuit, there's an energy generator and so forth. Well, it can keep on going, as long as you keep putting gas into that Jenny. All right. But the idea here is the question, we can't really see this happening. Okay, we have a copper wire. Well, we don't see the whole wire moving, like going like this, and then recharging like a piston, No, we don't see that wire. Hold that wire perfectly straight, perfectly still. Put it between two vices. But there's current flowing. Well, darn, it must be some of the atoms. It must be some of the electrons. It's the electrons, right? But how many at one time? I mean, wouldn't there be some point at which the wire would just kind of fall apart? Well, yeah, it will melt if you get it hot enough. Okay, all right. But we're not sure about all this because is it really the electrons moving or just the spaces between them going the other way? And the electrons stay still, and that's why the wire remains constant until there's a problem. Anyway, this would be like normal functioning. Electrons stay perfectly still, but the holes between them keep jumping back one notch. Just like the electrons jumping into the next space form. Here's one that's staying still. It has to maintain the structure of the wire. But here's one that's hopping. This one's the one moving. Well, it has to jump over that one and fill the next hole where one just left. Where one was, now it just left, and it's like, ding, 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 jumping around. Moving along. while others know to hang in there and just keep the same shape of the wire. I mean, my God. The whole thing would stop if there was no wire, right? Well, hey, bear this in mind. Here's what the electricity thing is. It's Vril. It's alive. It is alive. It is really fundamentally down at its primal level, its primitive, its pure level, its universal manifestation. It's the life force in everything. Now, you might call it the Holy Ghost. I don't know. It's the life principle. It is the thing that, another three-term description of the whole manifested cosmos is that it's conscious substance in motion. And if you want to know a couple properties of that, well, you say, well, it's the electromagnetic fluctuations. It's logical. It has its logical side, and it has its mathematical side. All three apply universally. It's electromagnetic, it's logical, and it's mathematical. And, that's on, on this finger, and then on this finger you just say what it is. We got conscious substance in motion, guys. Do you want to figure out what conscious means? Well, it's in there. Is it alive? Yeah, it's alive. It's conscious substance in motion. What more do you want? Yeah, so this is really an electrical thing. I want you to start thinking like that. Because the electricity doesn't just have its battery side, its wire side, its physical body side. Let's say you're going to picture yourself as a battery or a condenser or, transformer. All right, so you do. But no, that's not it. This is life force. This is universal prana. It's at all levels. It's across the board and to the bottom of the well or the top of the mountain, whatever. It pervades everything, just like conscious does, just like substance does, just like motion does, just like electromagnetic does, and just like logic states does, and just like mathematical quantities do. Universal. Think in terms of electricity, electromagnetism. All right? And that is what you are working with. And you are continuous and contiguous with those things because those things are you too. So, winning is possible. This is the basic formula I just told you. One needs to work with it. All right. Thumb up, subscribe, share, like. Yeah, thumb up. Check back. Sign up. As a decision, I'm signing up because my whole point here is to get you to think along similar lines and use this information that's here and yet to come wisely, at least on the sake of humanity, for the sake of humanity as we know it. It's good nature in messed up circumstances and conditions. Human nature versus the human condition, man. The human condition is not good. So what I want you to do is enlist yourself with a firm decision, a life-altering decision, one that you will continue with. It will put it into a state of continuity now. Put it into action and persevere. Decision, continuity, and perseverance. All right? that you are going to use this information on behalf of the universe becoming more than what it is, becoming more conscious of itself, becoming more expressive of itself, and its parts following suit. Like a hologram. Every little picture really has the characteristics of the whole. That would be some wise use of such information. But there's a lot to get there. It takes a lot to get there. Let's go!